How's it going, everybody? It's another day in the Chevette garage. All right, well, check this out. As you can see, Scooter's old engine's hanging in the air now, and there's an engine run stand that's empty. There's also a 215 back there that's ready to go on it. So I'm going to go ahead and pull these mounts out, and while I do that, I should say after I do that, I'll show you exactly how they connect in here in case somebody's missed that before. This is a way that you can adapt to any of these core supports, or cross members rather, if you don't want to go into the frame rails. Now, not every engine's going to work out this way. Some will probably have their mounts up here, some will probably have them back here, some will probably have them a little farther forward, but the principle's the same. You can use the bolt hole locations up here and the hole down here for the lower control arm to mount these. And you'll see that better here in just a minute. So as far as my engine run stand goes, as you can see, it's set up dimensionally identical to the frame rail and engine compartment areas of a Chevette, which makes it really easy to mock up engine stuff on. And all I got to do is take these mounts out and mount the Buick adapter plates in here. And I can even mount a rack in here. I have a piece of cardboard that I've cut out to the shape of the firewall. And I can run the steering shaft through. So I could technically build the headers for the car right here. And I'll show you how that works out here real soon. Just like that, we're converted over to the Buick. So it uses the existing threaded hole, and then the blank hole, it gets a nut in from the bottom, which can go in through this hole. And then this is the control arm pivot on the cross member. You take the nut off, take the washer off, slide this motor mount over, reinsert the washer, reinsert the nut, done. And that gives you the extra bracing for the mount to sit forward on. Plenty strong. Trust me, you could hang the entire car off of that thing. It ain't going anywhere. So, without further ado, I'm going to toss the motor mounts on this and put it on the run stand. Alright, so it's on. And now that it's on, I'm definitely going to clear everything with this oil filter. The sway bar is this line. So that gets where the filter would have been right here. It would have ran right into the sway bar, and it runs right into the brace that runs through here. This moves it out of the way and gets it just past the brace. The brace is actually going to sit in here, something like this. And then this one, put it right into the tray area. So the tray area is right about here. If I line up right, you can see it comes up. We have right about 2 fingers distance before we hit the edge of the tray, which is the bottom where the radiator sits. So I've got plenty of room around this right now. And this won't be running into the radiator. It won't be running into my lower hose. It literally just falls right into the hole right there. So also, this new starter is great because I can put a fist between the cross member and the starter now. However, I may still clock this so the stud is pointed up and the motor is over this way, because that would give me a lot more room through there to drop pipes, which might make building a header a little easier over here, which is the biggest problem with the starter being where it's at. I'm going to play with the starter clocking here a little bit. You can also see the frame rails on the actual car come in just a little bit further than this. You can see where the exhaust manifolds were not going to work out. And after a little break and some more fiddle around, I got a choke coil that will work. I have to go ahead and tap those holes. I have the PCV valve routed where it's going to go. I have this now with a fitting in it. I just have to get the stud out of there. I now have the fuel line made, and it routes around the intake and the block and the distributor down to the fuel pump. I'm working on mounting this somewhere here. I got to build another bracket. It's going to use those 4 holes on that cylinder head. Return spring is mounted, ready to go. Let's see what else I've got. Oh yeah, I have the spacer done now. I just have to take the bolt out, put that in, and then put the bolt back in. Good to go there. I have the battery cables on here, although that is a top post battery. I have side post cables. I use jumper cables and bridged them and tested the starter, which works great. Also, remember I was saying just a minute ago about reclocking this. See how much more room I've got around that starter. I only had this much room on the starter solenoid post. Basically got itself buried up in here on the stock starter. This is the armature because it's gear reduction. And that's the solenoid back there, but I don't know if I can get this in an area where you can see how much. I have two fists full of room to go up through here with pipe now. So headers, the medium length headers will definitely be happening now. I did have to do some work in here. You see all my pen marks on here. I had to take this apart from the starter armature, and I had to take this apart, and I had to do some fancy work with the drill and tap to put 2 holes in a location where it was happy. But it gets the electrical bits away from direct heat right here. I can put a little heat shield around this pretty easily. So that's going to work out real good. Oh, when I bump the starter, obviously I don't want to crank this. I definitely don't want to crank it a bunch. I don't want to crank it any more than I've already cranked it. It made 2 revolutions just to check the starter. However, I did have instant oil pressure in 2 revolutions. So I believe this is going to be very happy. Now I'm just trying to hurry up and get the rest of this stuff done. I got to pull the carburetor back off. This is all done, but I have to get a 1/4 inch longer bolt. Depending on how deep those holes are, I might be able to get away with a 1/2 inch longer bolt, especially since I want to put a washer underneath of them. But these are just a little short at the moment, so I got to take care of those. And then I have to weld those couple spots in the intake manifold, which I'm getting ready to do. I have the welder over here. I have my 220 plugged in over there in the wall, and I'm getting ready to come over here and bust out some aluminum. So, yeah, I got that. Oh, and then I have to make the upper adjustment bracket. Although this has one, and you see it kind of does this because it's from the Chevette. It's not right, so I got to get either one for the Buick. We're going to make one, so I'm just going to make one. After that, I'm 2 heater hoses away from having this thing fired up and running. And what I'm probably going to do is just take one hose right there and bring it back and loop it into that one right there. Alright, so as of right now, it's like 5 o'clock in the morning. I had to get up so I could get an early start on this, because as of right now, from about here down to the end of this, all the way across, is full of epoxy right now. That was a long, tedious process of getting that all down through there and then getting the air bubbles out of it so it would continue to fill itself. And I had to watch over here on this side for it to start coming up on the bottom. So now once this is set up, I can go mix up some more, fill this side up to the top of that, fill this side up to the top of this hole, and then it's going to be a matter of putting it on its side to fill the side, and then once that's cured, flipping it over to the other side to fill that side. Basically, the Rover intakes and the aftermarket intakes on these did away with the water jacket around the carburetor for many reasons. As a matter of fact, Rover and Edelbrock both did away with the water passage under the intake, with the exception of having the heater hose passage. There's no water heating this intake manifold like the factory one was. The factory not only had the thermostat housing and water crossover that ran all the way across the bottom. There's a big block that runs across the bottom of this and then out through the heater outlet, but it also comes down through this big chamber and all the way around the carburetor and then back down and out the top of that heater port inside, which is why porting these intakes is a fruitless effort, because you hit water absolutely everywhere around the carburetor and everywhere around the plenum. You can't port these. And even if you were pretty skilled at porting these, every once in a while you'll probably still run into one where you nick a corner and hit water. So I am filling that entire passage. I welded up the inside and the back, and I welded up the inside behind the thermostat housing. However, at the moment, I don't know if you can see down in there, but that darker area, that's an epoxy area. Let me see, my battery's low. There we go. You can see that's now epoxied back in there. So there will be no water crossing over. Damn. There'll be no water crossing over around here anymore. So once this is all dry, then I can come in here with my finished bit and my flap wheels and shape that to the port, put the carburetor adapter on it, put the carburetor on it, all done. It's not one thing, it's another around here, but I have managed to get it done. Oh, got all the broken bolts out of the intake manifold. I got all the epoxy work done. I likely have already put some pictures up of that here. When I hogged that intake manifold out, there was a lot of water jacket around the bottom of that carburetor. So that intake manifold has a full lower passage as well as an upper passage. We just deleted the upper passage altogether. So now it's good to go. I'm about to put it up on here. I'm hunting around the garage for hose clamps right now to put all the radiator hoses on it so I can get some coolant run through here so we can get this cam broke in. Hopefully not drive my entire neighborhood nuts, because I'm going to be probably running open manifolds for 20 minutes. But it is what it is. We're there. Tapes off the ports. Intake's going on right now. Alright, so I've hunted up all my hoses. I've hunted up all my hose clamps. I've gotten all my vacuum lines figured out. I have one vacuum line to put from carburetor to distributor. I have to put the choke coil in the side of the carburetor, but I don't technically have to do that till after break-in, because I can manipulate all that by hand. Oh, yeah, and I have to find top dead center real quick, which I'm going to pull the spark plug out of cylinder 1 and put my piston stop in it. I'm going to run it around until it stops. I'm going to mark the balancer. I'm going to run it around the other way until it stops, mark the balancer, split it in half. That's top dead center. That'll be enough for me to get the distributor in there, set the initial timing on it, so when I stab it in and hook everything up and I put a little fuel in that thing, the moment I hit the starter, this thing fires to life. Even if it's a little bit out of adjustment as far as the carburetor goes or the distributor goes, the big deal is get it fired, get it up to break-in RPM, somewhere between 15 and 2000 RPM. You want somewhere closer probably to 1800 to 2000 RPM, but you want to vary it a little bit. You don't want to let it just sit there. Kind of bring it up a little bit, let it come down, bring it up a little bit, come down. 10 to 20 minutes, it's good to go. So I'm going to finish this up. The next video you guys are going to see will be this thing running. Now, I may or may not do a live feed of the break-in, but if not, there'll definitely be some video noises coming very shortly. So stay tuned. In the meantime, you guys keep the shiny side up.